Hello, dear friends. Here we are with another program from one of the articles of the Spiritist magazine. Welcome. Tonight, we're going to be talking about childhood. Last week and past 2 weeks, we've been talking about issue 55 of the Spiritist magazine. As always, we like to share with everybody that the Spiritist magazine can be downloaded free of charge when you visit the spiritistmagazine.org. Not only you can do what I did here, which is download the PDF version for study and reading, but you also be able to order the physical copy of the Spiritist magazine. Let me show it to you. Here we have one this is issue 54 from last issue prior to this one. And this one is issue 42 back in 2018 as well. And remember, the issue is dedicated to growing old. But on the back of each magazine, you'll find, this one is easier to find. So we're going to go for the easier one while we're alive. Not only resources for the young, but also for the older. Here you have resources for parents. When you have the magazine, you can use these teachings. Very well done, beautifully produced, under the guidance of the good spirits. All of the work we have here, the Spiritist magazine, is free of charge for you and I to use. So not only we can learn how we are supposed to be, but also we can use these teachings to teach our children the blessings of Spiritism so that we can become a better person in this lifetime. We don't need to wait for the rest of it. We don't need to wait for another lifetime. We don't need to wait until we retire. We don't need to wait until we are in the spiritual realm. I'm actually looking for another reference for you from the Gospel according to Spiritism. This issue is dedicated to the growth of the human beings. How you and I, if we are not called to our home early, we will get the honor and the blessing of getting old. And for many of us, getting old is difficult. Getting old can be challenging. We still live in a physical body that is dense, coarse, coherent with a planet of trials and expiations, going through this planetary transition. It's only normal and natural that we experience biological changes as we age. We talked about that last time. But we also have many, many joys of getting older. You're wiser, you're able to focus, you're able to see the joys and the beauty of the lifetime. And today we're going to go for the other end of the spectrum. Not only there is material for the young in the Spiritist magazine that of course needs to be delivered by the parents as well, right? Or by the aunts and uncles and cousins and all the family circle as well. So today we're going to be talking briefly about this article here. The child is an eternal being in evolution because we're going to be born. We're grateful for the physical body, for our parents who provided us with this physical makeup for this existence. And I mean that with honor and respect, but we also have a role to play in our physical, spiritual, and psychological makeup because we bring with us what we did, what we thought, our actions, and we're reaping the benefits or the sourness of what we sowed back in other lifetimes and even in this lifetime. This article is very much in touch with Chapter 14 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. When I lead courses for children here at the Spiritual Society of Richmond, we talk about Chapter 14 with the parents that is titled by Allan Kardec, Honor Your Father and Your Mother. So, of course, the spirits will explain the Bible quote that is in Luke, Mark, Luke, and Matthew, but also the commandment on Exodus 20 and 12 of honoring your father and mother so that you may live long in the land which the Lord has given you. And childhood is all about the child, but also about how the child is cared for by others. And then on the back, towards the end of each chapter on the Gospel according to Spiritism, the spirits will give us instructions. They will talk about instructions from the spirits. So the first one is about ingratitude. And here on this chapter, the spirits bring to us the importance of parents in the lives of their children. On item, I'll give you the right quote. It's chapter 14, the Gospel according to Spiritism, item 9. It says here, "O Spiritist, you must understand that greater part that humanity has to play on this destiny of us and our evolution. You must understand when a body is produced, the soul that incarnates in it has come from space in order to progress. That is the children here in eternal being and evolution. So acquaint yourselves with your duty and then put all your love into bringing this soul nearer to God." That's the mission of the parents, bringing that soul entrusted to you, not yours, entrusted to you to take care of, or to us. "This is the mission with which you have been entrusted and for which you will receive just recompense if you fulfill your trust faithfully. The care and education given by you to this child will help its improvement and future well-being." So here we talked about also they'll give some solace to parents because, God never gives anyone a trial superior to the strength of the person who had asked it. And this is the chapter where the Spirit says that we are formed by grouping of spirits in our families, induced together in order to, because of affinities, tastes, moral progress, and affections. It talks about the importance of watching the child, the importance of, well, as we see on the Spirit's book, importance of that period of childhood when the child is more malleable, when we have forgetfulness of the past, when we are all able and open to learn new things, new abilities, and to prune what needs to end. We need to prune our abilities and our lower instincts that we might still bring with us from other lifetimes. So here's the article by Dr. Americo Canhoto, who is being translated by the Kardec radio team and is here available to you at the Spiritist magazine. Dr. Canhoto will say, first, that we need to treat our children. So let me see, make it a little bigger for you. So the first thing he says, we must remember who we are and what are here to do and reflect about this. Our parents gave us the biological opportunity to reincarnate in order to learn and progress. We perform our role by providing our children with the same possibility. So when you and I came to this earth and we were granted our wishes of reincarnation in order to learn and to grow together, our parents gave us this physical body. And what are we here to do? We are here to learn and to progress. So let's make a little addendum. How are you in terms of learning and progressing in this lifetime? Think about the time when you were a child, the things that happened to you, meditate on it, work on it with a psychologist or a psychiatrist, if need be. Bless the parents we had, no matter how hard it was. It doesn't matter how hard it was, but in spite of the hardness and the softness of it, we want to make sure we honor them because they gave us this opportunity, and they may not have had the same opportunities that you and I have, as we're going to see. Dr. Canhoto says parents are not mere breeders. Their duty goes beyond. It's fundamental that they actively participate in the development of the being they receive in their arms. So how were we nourished when we were in this phase of development. And then we forgive the mistakes of the past, we forgive and accept our situation, and we move on to do better next time. So this is for parents, this is for those caregivers, because sometimes the child is with someone else. Those are also for those who spend most of the time with the children, the caregivers in daycares and schools. We are here to participate actively in the development of their beings. Remember in the gospel, those are souls entrusted to us. Because in order to get old and appreciate wisdom of the ages, it's also important that we nourish the child from the beginning, that we give every single human being on the earth. That's my wish for the planet of regeneration, that every single soul that is granted the blessing of reincarnation can be given the opportunities and possibilities to develop and flourish with their abilities. Imagine if and every child had a home, had good nutrition, exercise, early development, good quality schools. They could learn not only the knowledge, but also the people skills, and everybody had that opportunity. How much more human talent we would have in the world to transform it as we see to a better planet. So we are here going to spend a few minutes together more with this. And this is not a judgment. This is not talking about anybody, parents and stuff. This is a reminder that in order for us to get to that point of being older, we need to be nourished when we're young. And now we're talking about the responsibility of the parents to provide that active engagement in the development. There's just a reminder, because these are laws, the law of society, the law of reproduction, the law of preservation, right? We are having innate inside of us the need to preserve ourselves, to care for ourselves, to live in society. Then there's just a reminder of the opportunities for growth, because when you actively engage in the development of the being that was received in your arm, you're also growing, you're also learning. You also learn to give off of yourself in order to help someone else. It says here, very similar to what it says in the chapter of 14 of the gospel, it's necessary to study our child in order to understand them. It's important to analyze its tendencies, impulses, and behaviors from early in life until whenever possible. And how do we do that? Without judging, criticizing, or controlling. Besides collaborating to the development of his or her potential, helping change innate characteristics, as was described in our book, Inner Renewal Starts in the Crib, with patience and much love. And here's the homework. Study the child that is being entrusted to you, so that he or she can grow into the beautiful adult that they're destined to be. So that those tendencies that we bring, impulses and behaviors that we bring with us from millennia of reincarnations and choices that were similar, even much worse than what we're doing today, they come with us, the tendencies, the impulses, but it takes time. It takes that active engagement. And then we start that in utero. We start that when the child is inside someone else's body, growing, receiving all the nourishment they have. And we observe without judging, criticizing, or controlling. We don't put any judgment. We just have to collaborate with that child and realign the child's abilities, impulses, behaviors, and tendencies with the laws of God. That's the pruning of the tendencies. We leave behind what is not useful to you and I anymore in this planet of regeneration. We try to leave behind our selfishness. We leave behind jealousy, anger. We learn to manage it, but in order to, you can't alter something unless you start looking at it and measuring and noticing it. And it takes us, adults, removing ourselves from our own entanglement in our physical needs and abilities, disentangling us from our phones, from our commitments taking a notch down on the human doing and going to human being with that child actively. And then we help that soul change its characteristics, the characteristics of selfishness, pride, anger, anything that we brought with us from previous lifetime. And that's why the title of this chapter is The Child is an Eternal Being in Evolution. You need to go to issue 55 by downloading the article from the website spiritistmagazine.org, or as I showed last week, you can download the app to your phone. It's very easy to read. And as you do that, you will have your own conclusions. You'll be able to receive the loving message from your guardian angel, from the guardian angel of that child. Remember, that being also has a being that cares for it from cradle to grave and beyond. Then when we are having challenges, we can also, one more fitness guide, spiritual fitness guide. You can ask them, personal trainer of the soul, how can I serve this being more? The guardian angel of that one. And that is for anybody who takes care of children. So be it a caregiver, a casual caregiver, a babysitter, someone in a teacher in a school, an aunt and an uncle, someone who is actively involved, we need to notice, we need to correct lovingly and kindly without the judgment and criticism, right? It says here, at birth, we're not blank pages. It's not like we erase everything, start over. Imagine there would be no evolution as fast as we have if we had to every time erase and start from scratch. The spiritual principle has been experiencing its life in matter in the mineral kingdom, vegetable kingdom, and animal kingdom way before we enter the human kingdom. So all those memories are working. How do I know? I'm breathing here without thinking about it. Now you're probably paying attention on your breathing. That's a memory from your nervous system that you've acquired from millions of years of evolution, where you're learning these automated systems where the cells of your body can exist and you don't have to tell it its enzymes what to do. And Dr. Canhoto will say, it's difficult to realize that when we are born, we bring innate impulses, tendencies, and predispositions, some that are preeminent, designated some as nature, and classified as good or bad. One of education's purpose is to help the child discern about its own nature and correct inadequate tendencies. Notice the children's behavior. Make an effort to recognize this behavior and analyze its development. Also observe other children's behavior. Avoid judging them and giving tips. We're not in the business of giving tips to other parents unless they ask you for it. And sometimes, even when they're asked, they say, observe and don't judge and give tips. Because sometimes when we are trying to be too helpful, we are actually co-creating with them something that is not good for their own future. As we are not inserted in their family context, it becomes difficult and risky to give opinions about the lives of others. Let us take care of our own children. And that's a conundrum nowadays with this connectivity, the ability to see the beautiful parts of people's lives. We may be measuring ourselves based on the behavior of someone else's life, consciously or unconsciously. Then we don't know what the situation is. And I'm going to make an aside here. Do you know, let's say you have a child or a niece and nephew, or and you've adopted a child. What a beautiful thing. Or you're a foster parent, even more. The more the merrier. And you're having difficulties and you know of the Spiritist doctrine, there's spiritual support for parents. And I'm putting it up here so we can see. Support for parents. It's actually Spiritist support for parents. And friends, we record this live And sometimes it's hard to believe that when we are together, we'll find. All right, so here we have, it's spiritistparenting.org. So when you have someone whose God has entrusted to your life to care for, and you're having difficulties, go there. Spirit is support for parents. The child, as much as you are, is a spirit in evolution, in different phases of our evolutionary process with different abilities and tendencies. And then the roles are, you are entrusted this being to care for. Remember, we all belong to God. We are all created by God. So they're not ours, but they're ours to take care of for the time being. And here there's an app. You can ask for prayers for folks. And then even has the same quote from the same item, the Gospel According to Spiritism, chapter 14. There's also a YouTube channel you can go to. You can contact them. So many resources for you and I. And then you can also go to the Facebook page, as you see here. The Facebook page would be facebook.com/Spiritist Parenting. And you know what? I'm going to copy this for you and I. And I will make sure it goes into the description box because we want to know where the resources are. You know what? I'm going to put it on the screen here. Why should I wait? Spiritist Parenting at Facebook. And then we have Spiritist Parenting. Spiritistparenting.com. I'm going to make 2 banners so that you can see the name here. Spiritistparenting.com. So those are resources you can use when you're entrusted with a child. As an eternal being, you want to make sure that child receives the utmost care in order to grow and become all it needs to be. Dr. Canhoto was also saying that we need to study, we need to educate ourselves day and night. It is up to the adult to study the child and help them draft their life project according to their evolutionary needs. And then here, we are beings living in permanent evolution. At birth, we bring a set of tendencies and predispositions that will provide us with peace and happiness, and others in turn will cause us unhappiness and pain. It's very important that we impart the sense of impermanence, especially nowadays with the pandemic. Things change so fast. COVID is inviting us to think, stop, plan, meditate. And what a blessing, what a greater blessing you could give to your children, the sense of impermanence, the sense that everything belongs to God, the sense of immortality, the sense of a reincarnatory plan. There's a plan for everything. And I want to impart this last part. I would really want you to go and read it for yourself. I'm here just to bring attention to this beautiful article, because it's, in order to get old, you get to pass through childhood, and in childhood we can mold our tendencies, the tendencies of our children, and then we can grow and blossom. We need to educate ourselves since childhood to face pleasure and pain, which will be a constant in our existence, because it's an evolutionary necessity since we reincarnate in a world of trials and expiations. So if we learn that life will have joys and pleasures and pain and difficulties, then we are better equipped when those difficulties arise. And this is very, very, very important, because nowadays we can think about cases of depression, panic, robberies, betrayals can be avoided when education understands the study and the overcoming of innate tendencies. Nowadays we see a lot about the increase in young children's suicidal tendencies and even suicide attempts. We talk about mental health and well-being. What a better time for you and I to be together talking about this. So the invitation is for us to see ourselves as these eternal beings in evolution. Whatever phase of life you are, you're still growing. Once the physical body deteriorates, you're still going to grow in the spiritual realm. Evolution is in two worlds. And then we are granted an opportunity to return here or elsewhere. And then, depending on which phase of life, you may be entrusted with the responsibility of bringing that soul closer to God. And that soul is an eternal being. Him or her, they have their own tendencies, their own needs, and it's up to us in this more mature phase of life with this responsibility to bring about watching them, caring for them, looking at their tendencies so that we can be that instrument of co-creation with Jesus. Because Jesus wants us to lead our children to God. God wants us to lead our children to Him or her. And then we are granted the opportunity of co-creation, the opportunity of work, the opportunity of self-sacrifice. But it starts with awareness, mindfulness. We want our minds to be full. We want to be mindful of where we are, what are our responsibilities, what are the resources. Remember, the Spiritist magazine is a wonderful resource for when we are growing, where we're in need. We can have it free of charge in our phones. You can go to spiritistparenting.com, download the app, visit the Facebook page, connect with others, get a community of people around you that think similarly, that understands the immortality of the soul, who can support you in this endeavor. Therefore, dear friends, I invite you, spiritistmagazine.org, spiritistparenting.com, and I hope that it encourages you to go and seek the resources that you need, the resources that you can use in your daily lives with the particular circumstance that you have. And I hope that you've enjoyed this program. I hope that you return next week so we can talk a little bit more about one of the articles of the Spiritist magazine. Currently, issue 55 is the latest issue. Go out there, read it, comment, share, because we want to make sure more people are aware of the beauty that surrounds them, their inner beauty, their ability of being co-creators with God to change this world to be a better place. What a blessing to be with you. What an honor to be with you. And until next time, many, many blessings. Stay well, stay safe. I'll see you soon.